It might be locked, yeah.
All right. Now, have you ever had an idea that was proposed to you that was both simultaneously exciting and terrifying? That was the energy in the room after I proposed to the group that's about to get up in front of you to do a TEDx-style speaker event in which they would feature themselves. So my name is Malcolm Saunders, lead instructor and owner, creative visionary of Light Cellar. And yes, it was my idea for this evening.
Thank you.
And what is this evening? Well, as I say, it was, this is, like, think of it as like a kind of a local TEDx mini event where each presenter you're going to hear from is going to present 12 minutes of their finest ideas. And this all started back in March of this year, where a bunch of us got together, staff, instructors, business owners, wanting to develop our voice and our ability to speak and communicate our ideas. And we first started, part one was the invitation to post on social media a video every single day on the topic of our choice. And then a few weeks in, it was, let's start part two, which is what you're about to witness. So this is, and I would say, in fact, probably the thing that everybody realized the most. Like 12 minutes doesn't sound too hard, doesn't sound too bad, does it? Whoa, the thing that everybody realized the most is like 12 minutes, oh my gosh, like 2-hour class, oh, no problem, right? I got all this space, I can blabber on, I can fill it with words, I can talk forever. 12 minutes, what am I gonna talk on? And then it really comes down to it. So yeah, appreciate you all being here. We have a number of folks online. This is part one of part two. There was 14 of us that started with the group, 15 in fact. Not everyone made it. And those that are here tonight persevered and procrastinated and into this final culmination here. So really excited to have you all here in person and online. We'll send you out the recordings, and if you want, join us. Hopefully you'll be inspired to come back tomorrow as well. We'll be doing it again with a different group of presenters. So take what you will from tonight. You're going to hear some ideas, some inspiration, apply what is applicable in your life. And yeah, so without further ado, we'll introduce our first speaker. So this is someone who invites you to slow down, tune in, and remember what your body has known all along. Angela is a holistic nutritional consultant, a mindfulness practitioner, author, and a passionate advocate for cultivating inner wisdom in a noisy world. Her work weaves together ancient principles, modern science, and deep presence to help you connect with your intuition to make empowered, personalized choices. Angela spends her time with her husband, 2 children, walking in the woods, drinking tea. She can be found making medicine and teaching here at the Light Cellar, and more recently has returned to nutritional consulting one-on-one with clients. After 20 years of guiding herself and educating others on the path of healing, Angela doesn't just offer information, she offers insight. She believes that when we quiet the noise and listen to the body, you will find clarity, confidence, and real sustainable health. Please join me in welcoming a woman who is here to help us reawaken and empower our inner knowing, Angela Bewick.
Thank you. Thank you, Malcolm, and a big thank you to Malcolm for making us all step out of our comfort zone. So I am going to invite us, because I feel quite like a lot of energy, and maybe some other fellow speakers tonight might as well. Maybe some of you in the audience are nervous for it as well. I'm going to invite us to just take 3 deep breaths, ground ourselves in the present moment. Check in with your jaw and your shoulders. And I'm going to invite you now to open your eyes if they're closed, and then come walk in the forest with me. Not literally, we're going to stay in the room. But you enter the forest path and you see the trees. Let's imagine we're in an Alberta forest, because here we are. Conifers everywhere, all different heights. How do they know how high to grow? What makes a conifer, what makes a pine grow so tall? Well, there's a little thing, the lead bud on the tree is called the apical bud or the apical bud, and it senses light and dark. And it tells the tree, sends hormones down, and it tells the tree how high to go. So it's using this very subtle kind of antenna to determine how high to grow. It's a very energetically expensive process, so it needs to kind of feel it out. Now, we are a lot like these trees. We use the external and we meld it with the internal, and we decide how to adapt to our environment, how to connect, and how to be guided by that intuition. And we do this through our senses. But our senses have kind of been dulled a little bit. I don't know if you've picked that up. It's difficult for us to sift through the noise and just trust what's happening. So for the next, hopefully 10 minutes, hopefully I can do this in 10 minutes, I want to explore the value of cultivating our intuition and using the body to guide and create our health. I want you to walk out of here with a little bit of confidence in your own agency and your own ability to determine the right path for you. So about 3 months ago, I started consulting. Curiously, around the time we started this group, I started consulting one-on-one again with clients in my office. And I had a client come in, a new client, let's call her Kathleen. She gave me permission to share this story, don't worry. And she was referred to me by her daughter. And we sit down and we exchange pleasantries and we're chatting about her intake form and kind of reviewing it. And about halfway through, I noticed that Kathleen's kind of getting emotional. She's sort of tearing up, which is not unusual in my office, but here we are. And she said, I said, Kathleen, like, what's going on? What's happening? And she said, I've gone to my naturopath. He wants me to take a whole bunch of new supplements. I've gone to my medical doctor who wants me to start on a particular pharmaceutical. I have gone to my acupuncturist who wants me to start on a bunch of herbs. And I didn't even really want to come to you because I am doing all the things. I'm listening to the podcasts, I'm reading the books, and I still feel confused and I feel overwhelmed. Okay, does this sound familiar to anybody? Have we had this experience where we go into the doctor's office, we come out, we feel like, or any practitioner, we come out, we feel like we weren't really listened to? Have you had that? Or the advice doesn't really feel aligned with what you kind of went in for in the first place? Yeah, well, I propose, this is very common, I propose that maybe that filter of your own intuition isn't quite developed, possibly. And you're getting so much information that it's hard to know what to do. I think that we already know what to do. I think that wisdom is deep within us. And I think what could help is just to uncover a little bit of that. So I'm not saying that we don't listen to guides, because external guides. I mean, think of that apical bud, right? It uses the senses from the sunshine to know how much hormones to release into the body. And I think most of us would be out of business if nobody relied on a little bit of external wisdom. But having that the external cues become a little too much, and it cuts us off at the neck. We get so much information in our brain that we can't listen to that message that's coming up from the body. So that balance is really, really important. So back to Kathleen. We're in the office. Kathleen's an older lady. She's in her later 70s. She was just diagnosed with osteoporosis. And she had just healed from a bout of skin cancer. So she was frustrated that another condition had come up after she had already worked so hard to kind of deal with the skin cancer issue. She was annoyed because she'd spent most of her life taking such good care of herself, and she was also really scared because she thought, is this what my older years are going to look like? One diagnosis after another diagnosis. So guess what I did with her? I did not give her another protocol because the loudest voice in the room was not her diagnosis, it was her disconnection. She couldn't filter the information that she was getting because there was just so much of it. So I invited her to do kind of what we did at the beginning here, to just stop for a longer period. Her and I worked longer than we just did, but we stopped. We grounded ourselves. We meditated. What she needed was space. She needed to pause. She needed to develop a practice that allowed her to calm her mind so that she could hear her body. Well, I knew when we had this time, this space, when I asked her, what is it that your body actually needs? What are you looking for? I trusted that she was going to be able to give me a pretty authentic, real answer. And she did. She decided she was going to start journaling, was what came up for her. She had been a journaler before and she wanted to journal again. I was like, oh, that's awesome, that's perfect, great. That's a practice that you can, a tangible practice that you can use. And I said, why don't you, I invited her to just, you could try writing about messages that you're getting from your body. And that kind of resonated with her, and she kind of left feeling a little bit more confident. So she was establishing a practice. And practice is how we can kind of work through this, developing this familiarity, because our brains love familiarity. And familiarity is a very hard word to say 3 times in a row, but it's also how our brain develops efficiency and how our brain develops a sort of predictability, a certainty. So it's how we develop habits. Whether the habit is good for us or not, it doesn't really matter. Our brain needs these sort of predictable patterns in order to survive. And so when we have a pattern where we're like, okay, in neuroscience, for example, you guys have heard the term neurons that fire together, wire together. So we have a cue, we develop a behavior, we have a cue, we develop a behavior, and just like a well-worn path in the forest, a neural connection is forged. So when we make this new path, it becomes a little bit easier for us to tread it, right? And intuition is like that. But hey, I've got good news for you. Intuition, as you all know, this is not a new pathway. How many of you have spent time with 0 to 4-year-olds? Anybody? What do they run from? What's their operating, their MO? Yeah, it's like instinct, feeling, intuition, that energy, right? They feel the vibes that's in the room. So we all have this. I mean, you guys were all 0 to 4 once, I'm pretty sure, if you're in this room, unless there's something I don't know. So you have this pathway established in your brain. It's just maybe a little covered up. You might need to do some bushwhacking to get yourself through it. But Kathleen came back with her journal, not a food journal, which is usually what a nutritional practitioner sees, but she called it her messages her body had said, her body had given her, which I thought was kind of cute. And she goes through it and she said, you know, I still don't know what is going to happen to me. I'm, in my late 70s, but I feel after doing this practice, first of all, from the first week to the 4th week, it was a lot easier for her. It was a lot quicker for her to be like, oh, that's what I think is happening, for her to tune into that. Her little apical bud was like dusted off and tuned in. And so she was able to kind of familiarize her brain with that practice instead. But she also felt less frightened about what's coming because she felt like she was accompanied on this pathway. She felt like she was attending to her own sort of needs, which was something that she hadn't had a chance or given herself the chance to practice for a long time. So yeah, we talked about remineralization, we talked about the herbs and foods that would be helpful for that, we talked about building muscle mass so that her bone density could be stronger, but she was able to kind of discern what was useful from the information that I was giving her and what was maybe not what she could let go of. So what practitioners like myself, there's a few of us in the room, what we do is we can provide that bridge between our brains and our bodies. We can help guide. We provide a compass. We don't provide a map because ultimately the pathway is yours to take. And so we trust that when you're given the guidance, you're going to know what to do because it's there already. You just kind of have to dust it off. So I want you to take a breath, another breath. And I have an invitation for you. This is a project. You could call it a challenge if you're that kind of person, or you can call it an invitation if you're that kind of person. Whatever works for you, whatever language works for you. We are coming into a new season of summer. This is a great time for us to be outside in nature, to kind of check out what the trees are doing, what the plants are doing, take a little guidance from that. And I invite you to think of a practice. And even if you have a practice, I know many of us in this room have this practice already. This is why you're going to hear a lot of common themes tonight, because we are a community that has worked on developing our own inner knowing so that we can support everyone around us. This is why Light Cellar feels like so nice to come into, because we're all sort of trying to practice this. So I invite you to either strengthen a practice that you already have or work on letting go of a practice that you no longer need. And that's your mission for the summer. And then I want you to tell me how it goes. You can email me, you can call me, you can come cry in my office. You can come for walks with me in the forest. But I look forward to seeing how it all works out for all of you. And I thank you for your attention. Blessings. All right, my friends. Are you ready, Jodi?
I am.
I also have to thank Malcolm again, because he has done so much work to help us all like develop something. And I think of this as a really great practice for just everything, right? Like getting out of your comfort zone and working with resistance and all of those things. And I know that this is just the beginning. So thank you, Malcolm. Thank you. I love my beautiful Jodi. Come on up here. Jodi and I just got, do you have a mic? Yes.
I have a little mic.
So Jodi is an incredible
Can you press start
maker.
when
She makes,
start?
Sasquatch glass, the tallow that we all see around the floor. She also is an incredible helper to me, because she came to Wild Rose Conference this weekend. And she doesn't snore. So I shared a room with her, and I don't know if she would say the same thing about me, but thank you. So
I'm just going to grab a couple of things here. If you can just, I always have props.
I need that, right, to do the introduction. Thank you. Okay.
Thank you. I will fix that.
Okay, so tonight's next speaker. She has journeyed from business and law into yoga and meditation. The best trip ever, I think. And she's now handcrafting healing bombs using ingredients sourced from our local community. What drives Jodi is her curiosity. She's passionate about supporting local farms, exploring nutrient-dense foods, and discovering how we can all step into the best versions of ourselves. She's naturally reflective and believes deeply in the power of community connection. She knows that real transformation happens when we all come together. Please welcome Jodi Gunn as she presents Creating Confidence and Overcoming Overwhelm. Ironically, why journaling doesn't work. But magic words do. Thank you, Jodi. Take it away.
And that's not weird there?
Well,
We did not plan this journaling theme, and it's not that I'm challenging that journaling doesn't work, specifically in Angela's instance.
everyone's different.
Everyone is different. But does anybody find that there is a lot of information coming at us right now? And controversial. You can get journaling doesn't work and journaling does work, obviously in the same night. And is there anything really calming and soothing about all this information right now? Not really. Do you find that it's somewhat overwhelming? Yeah, it is. My name is Jodi Gunn, and I am curious about how things really work. I'm curious about how food systems create robust communities. I'm interested in how nutrient delivery systems create robust bodies. And I'm interested in how we manage our information, and can that create robust humans, confident humans and happy humans. So it surprised me, chit-chatting after yoga class, everybody's in the little chit-chatty mode, and I heard someone say, I don't journal because it doesn't work. She obviously hadn't been to visit Angela. But this surprised me because yoga and journaling to me seem to have the same vibe. So I would have to ask myself, is this true? Does journaling work? So what is journaling supposed to do? Does anybody here ever journal?
Try and filter out the thoughts?
Yeah, try and filter out your thoughts. Try and bring a little calmness, maybe. Could we say that it helps anchor our thoughts? That'll be fair. So is it fair then for journaling to work, we need to anchor our thoughts, but do we really want more than that to overcome the overwhelm? New Year's Eve in my house. It's minus a million outside. And so I put a fire on in the fireplace, I get some blankets out, make it nice and cozy. My husband Ian opens a bottle of wine. We've decided to stay home. And he says, honey, this is gonna be a great night. And I say, yeah, it really is. And I pull out the blue ledger book and a red pen because I know how to have a good time, right? Are you thinking, oh, that poor guy? Or are you thinking, oh, if he only pulled out the vacuum, that would make it a really great night? So in our ledger book, we keep track of a couple of different numbers, but we also have a couple of charts. I'm not even kidding. This is how geeky we are. I'm sorry if we can't quite see it on there. To save time, I've put our charts up on here already. And these charts work for us like anchors. It's like journaling. So we've got two charts. One is the pillars. And we take a look, we have a conversation around what does our mental health, physical health, financial health look like? What do our relationships look like? And what does work look like right now? Because if we have all of these strong and at 100%, then we've got a strong home. Does that kind of make sense? Now, of course, this is the masculine version, all straight and linear, and then you've got to have the female version. It's the same but different. On your target, you can create your own target where you've got your values around the outside. We've got family and financial, because this is part of what we're keeping track of. It's also about our resources. That's important to us. Our friends, community, work, and service. And so what we talk about is, what does it look like when we're on? What does the best version of ourselves look like? And what does it look like when we're off target? Because being off target is a real invitation to anchor in to what our values are and come back into the best version of ourselves. So I have a third chart. So in this chart, can you see, love? Yeah. I call this the happiness curve. So up on top, we've got happiness, and these are then events over time. So when we're riding the curve at the top, we are on target. We are the people that we want to be. And then life happens. Some sort of fear, guilt, shame, so much information, the overwhelm. So what if Ian had said to me, what if he had looked at my book and said, your book is stupid, you are stupid, I'm going out. He didn't say that, but we've all had experiences where things are going fine and then we end up here in the pit. So at this point, we've got 3 different directions to go. 2 of these diverge away from our true selves, and one of them moves toward back up the happiness scale. But let's talk about these 2 divergent ways. The first one is escaping and avoiding. Does anybody do any of this ever? Yeah. Yeah, does anybody have a favorite way? Because some of the common ways are, let's eat something, let's drink something, let's have more wine, let's shop, let's scroll on our phones. There's one. So everybody has different versions, and it can be an escape or distraction for a minute, or a week, or a year, or a decade, and we don't get back onto our happiness curve until we do a something. So another way we go away from ourselves is a control or power version. So if we're on our own curve, other people are on their own curve. They're happy, they're experiencing things, they're sad, they're doing their own things. And the way that control works on our graph for now is that we step off and we steal other people's happiness. So I could have turned around and said to Ian, fine, I'm going out too, and I don't know when I'll be back. How horrible is that, hey? But that's even pushing him further down to push myself up. And we see this in all different ways. I believe Alex is going to talk about our friends, the Rockefellers, who do love to steal power from others. So, what's the third path? Are you thinking she went on and on about these charts and journaling, and can she circle back, please? So, I would like to invite you to not take these 2 divergent paths, but I'd love you to choose magic. Abracadabra, which makes no sense whatsoever until you know that it means I create what I speak. So it's not I create as I sit alone and journal. It's I create as I go to Angela and talk about what I've journaled. It's I create when Ian and I work on our little plan together. It's create and speaking to someone. So journaling doesn't work by itself. It does work when we are anchored in what is important to us. Whatever your pillars are, whatever your target is, once you're anchored in that, it's then taking that into the world. So it's anchoring and creating. So Ian could have said to me, honey, and he could have said, I know your love languages lists. Let's do this together. But you can imagine Malcolm. How could he forage and not talk about it? Yeah, I don't know if you even can forage. And there's Angela and Jen and Vivian and Jill and all of our people here at the Light Cellar. How can they create herbal concoctions and not talk about them? That's what's important to them. And when they take it out into the world and talk about it, that's when we create the happiness. That's when we create the community. So what is important to you? What are you anchored in? What is on your pillars or on your target? What to you is the best version of yourself? because that pit is going to come. That information overload is going to come. The fear, the guilt, the shame, that's going to come. So will you escape? Maybe for a few minutes, but will you escape and avoid it for a really long time? Or will you put somebody else down and make yourself built up? Or will you use your magic? I really invite you to use your magic to move through the pit and overcome the overwhelm with confidence. So I ask you to ask yourself, what is your abracadabra?
This is the introduction.
And the lovely Justine is coming up.
Hi, Dan. I don't know what to do.
Yeah. I will shuffle those out of the way, Justine. Thank you for being so patient.
Oh, of course.
So, hello everyone. Next up is Justine. She is the founder of Nothing But Wild. Nothing But Wild. I love that name. It's a small batch, heart-led company where she makes herbal teas and balms and magnesium sprays and many more things. It's all from a deep love of plant medicine. This work is more than a business. It's a way of reconnecting to our bodies, to the earth, and to the wisdom of our ancestors. In this talk, Justine will guide us through what it means to truly come back to our bodies, whether it's through the support of calming herbs, simple breath work, or the power of connection. Connection to the land, to the community, and most importantly, to yourself. Thanks, Justine.
Thank you for the beautiful introduction. I think that one's really fragile. Oh, sorry. It's okay. Well, hello, everybody. Yeah, it's kind of funny how I'm going to talk about regulating your nervous system and being back in your body, because currently feeling unregulated, but that's okay. Okay, so when was the last time you really felt in your body? Not rushing, not planning, just present. We live in a world that rewards speed, but our bodies, especially our nervous systems, weren't built for constant stimulation. Tonight, I'm going to walk you through why slowing down actually matters, how your nervous system works, and how we can gently support it through breath, connection, and a few magical herbs. So before we go anywhere, let me tell you why I care so deeply about this. Not that long ago, I woke up already feeling behind. You know the feeling? Alarm blaring, emails unread, group chats pinging, to-do list longer than your grocery receipt. I was anxious, wired, and somehow completely exhausted. By 2 p.m., I had my third cup of coffee in hand and tears in my eyes. I couldn't remember the last time I took a deep breath without multitasking. I was dizzy, short-fused, and this constant loop of go, 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 and crash. I wasn't sick, but I wasn't okay. And the worst part, I thought that was normal, or I was just a busy person. And that's nervous system dysregulation. It's not always panic attacks and meltdowns. It's not always a burnout. It's brain fog, the irritability, the digestive issues, the 2 a.m. racing thoughts. It's your body whispering, then eventually screaming, this pace is not sustainable. I realized I didn't need more productivity hacks. I needed to come back to myself. And that's when I started learning more about the nervous system. And not from a textbook, but through breath work, nature, connection, plants. And slowly I stopped surviving and started feeling like I was living again, back in my body. So let's unpack what was going on in my body and maybe in yours too. So what is the nervous system? Your nervous system is your internal command center. It's the reason you hit the brakes in traffic, or how you get butterflies before a date, or get emotional watching your dog videos. There are 2 key players here. Your sympathetic nervous system, also known as your fight or flight. This part kicks in during danger, helpful when you're running from a bear, maybe not as helpful when you get passive-aggressive text messages. and your parasympathetic nervous system, also known as rest and digest. This is where healing, calm, and connection live. Think of it as kind of like your wise grandma who says, "Sweetheart, sit down and have some soup." And our bodies were designed to bounce between these two states, but modern life, it has us stuck in fight or flight permanently. And imagine your internal smoke alarm going off every day when you make toast. That is chronic stress. And dysregulation can show up in lots of ways. You know, you can't relax. Even when you have time, you sit down to rest, but your brain starts sprinting. What's for dinner? Did I send that text? Why is that person liking my story and not getting back to me? You wake up tired and somehow still anxious. You've just slept 7 to 8 hours, but your body feels like it's already ran a marathon and your brain is just replaying all the awkward conversations. You procrastinate, but you also can't rest. You're lying on the couch with 47 things to do, but your brain is frozen. So instead, you scroll on Instagram for an hour and call it research. You feel disconnected from your body. You suddenly realize you've been clenching your jaw and holding your breath for hours and didn't even notice, which I am totally doing right now. A few other things that could be signs would be digestive issues, sleep problems. You swing between feeling numb and overwhelmed, having a short fuse, being reactive instead of responsive, being stuck in future or past mode only. And we have normalized this, thinking that chronic stress and burnout is just a personality trait. But being fine isn't the goal, thriving and being at peace is. So how do we come back? Good news, regulation is possible. It doesn't require week-long retreats or changing your whole lifestyle. It's about creating small moments of safety in your day. And here are some tangible places to start. Breath. It sounds simple, but it does work. Deep breathing tells your body you're safe now and brings you back to the present. So we're all gonna just do one round of box breathing, and that is you're gonna do 4 seconds of breathing in. And then you're gonna hold for 4. And then exhale for 4. And that is an easy way if you're just having a hard moment, you're at work, you're in the car, someone cut you off, whatever it is, just do that and do it a couple times and it does help. Another would be move. And this isn't just about workouts, it's also about just movement, stretching, shake, dance like no one's watching. And connection. Talk to someone who makes you feel safe, heard, and seen. Be around animals, connect with Mother Earth. When you slow down and connect with the earth, you naturally start to reconnect with yourself. And the plants are right there in the middle, helping you remember how to feel grounded, calm, and supported. And get outside. I'm sure you're going to hear lots of this. Let's be honest. Most of us are chronically online. If our ancestors rose with the sun, we rise with the glow and doom scrolling under our covers. Your phone is a tiny stress machine, constant notifications, blue light, news updates. Your nervous system doesn't know you're in bed. It thinks you're being chased through a forest of bad news. So put the phone down and go outside and be barefoot. If the first thing you do when you wake up is go on Instagram or TikTok or anything, you have an addiction maybe with your tiny little stress machine, and it is time to start creating boundaries. Starting to create morning rituals that set you up, even if it's just taking 10 minutes in your morning, to sit outside, write down your dreams, connect with yourself. And also support with herbs. So a couple of my favorites that I like to incorporate in some of my tea blends is lemon balm. It's calming and it's also good for overthinking. And holy basil tulsi, it balances stress and is gently energizing. Milky oats, it's deeply nourishing, especially when you're feeling burnout. And passion flower is great for racing thoughts. And ashwagandha will build resilience over time. And then grounding. Even if you don't have a green space or a backyard, you can buy biodynamic or organic soil and put it in a tray in your house. Just putting your feet in the frequency of that dirt is a source of grounding. Regardless if it's in your yard or in a tray, it's all connected to Mother Earth. You don't have to get super complicated about it. So when you put your feet on grass, soil, or sand, it heals your cells. It takes them from being clumped up like inflammation to spread out. The earth carries a natural, subtle electric charge and an endless supply of free electrons. When your bare skin comes into contact with the ground, it allows your body to absorb those electrons, creating flow, synergy, regulation, and it's also free. And then another one, sometimes it's not what we're doing, but it's also what we're exposed to. Chemicals called endocrine disruptors can mess with your hormones and your nervous system. They can hide in plastics, personal care products, pesticides, and even canned foods. So don't panic. You don't need to throw your whole cabinet out. Just start small. You can always just start replacing products once they're empty. But some of the ones that are good to focus on at first would be going from plastic to glass containers, using fragrance-free products, and buying items that you can actually read the ingredients. Filter your water. And then buying organic when possible, especially focusing on the dirty dozen. And then use clean, chemical-free cleaners. And it's not about being perfect. It's about reducing the load your body carries in the background. And this is exactly why I did start Nothing But Wild, to create clean, earth-rooted products, to pass on knowledge I've learned, to inspire someone to slow down, learn more, or simply support a local business that's just doing a little more with heart. So here's the invitation, because this isn't about doing more or fixing yourself or becoming some serene version of a human who never gets overwhelmed. It's about remembering what your body already knows, that slowing down is not laziness, it is wisdom, that connection heals, that being outside, even for 5 minutes, can do more for your nervous system than a perfectly curated morning routine, that a warm cup of tea can be medicine and also can a moment of quiet. This is work of regulation, not in some clinical sterile sense, but in deeply human ways. One deep breath, one herbal ally, one moment of presence at a time. And you don't have to do it all, you just have to begin, and your nervous system will thank you. Whew, feels good to be on the other side. Okay, and next up we have Jill. I'll do your introduction. Thank you. What if healing the body could begin with balancing its energy? Energy medicine is an emerging field that views the human body not just as a collection of organs and systems, but as a dynamic energy field that can influence health and healing. While some aspects of energy medicine are still considered complementary or alternative in mainstream healthcare, growing scientific interest is exploring how biofuel therapies, electromagnetic fields, and mind-body connections might offer measurable effects on physical and emotional health. Now you're about to hear from Jill, who has spent the past 3 years exploring the many benefits of energy work with biofeedback. Her experience sheds light on how working with energy can create meaningful shifts in physical, emotional, and energetic well-being.
All right, so let me ask you something. Have you ever walked into a room full of people and you feel like you could cut the tension with a knife? Or you've been around someone with such high emotional tension you felt you had to walk on eggshells? Or maybe you've been to a concert or a conference and the excitement was through the roof? So this is energy. So we don't see it, but we feel it. And it flows through our conversations and through our relationships, through the spaces that we're in, and it flows through us. So what if we could use this same energy to help influence not only our emotions, but also our health and healing? So that's energy medicine. So I want you to think of it like an orchestra. Your body, every organ, every system, your reproductive, digestive, even down to your individual cells. Think of them like instruments in the grand orchestra. And your energy is the music. It's invisible yet powerful, and it gently guides the rhythm of your entire being. So when you're well, everything's playing in harmony. But then when there's emotional tension or a physical ailment, now something starts to play out of tune and the harmony begins to slip. So this is where energy medicine comes in. And it's not about forcing change in your body, but it's about retuning the system. It's helping clear the static in the communication pathways and restoring the rhythm so that the music, your energy, can flow smoothly again. And it reminds your body of its original natural frequency so that you can move back into harmony. And you don't need, just like so when you're sitting in the symphony or listening to the orchestra, you don't need to see the sound waves to actually feel the power, just like you don't need to see your energy to know when everything is well or something is out of tune. So now growing up, I was always taught that doctors know everything, and if something's wrong, we go to a doctor and we follow their advice. And if we don't know, if they don't know, then that's just what you have to deal with. That never sat well with me. And at 22 years old, sitting in the doctor's office, my doctor diagnosed me with underactive thyroid and told me I had to be on Synthroid for the rest of my life. I was not too happy with that, but I reluctantly, because of my upbringing, I took the prescription, and for the next year I was on Synthroid. I didn't feel much different or anything, and then my husband moved cities, and I needed a new doctor. I ran out of a prescription. But instead, I was very resistant, and I ended up finding a chiropractor instead. And I was telling her my story, and she's like, well, if you want, I can do muscle testing. And so I don't know if you know, but muscle testing is actually another word for it is applied kinesiology. And it was developed by a chiropractor in the 1960s. And he believed that our muscles were connected to our different systems and our organs, so that if there was a change in our muscle movement, that it could identify nutritional deficiencies, muscular imbalances, or even emotions being stuck in places in our body. So I agreed. I'm like, I'm in. So over the course of a year, I kept going back to this chiropractor and getting muscle tested to see where my body needed the most support, and then supporting my body. So then I found myself a doctor after a year, feeling pretty good, and I told them my story. I need a new prescription, I said. I've been diagnosed with underactive thyroid, and I need Synthroid. And that's how I left it. And so he's like, well, we have to do a blood test. So I get the blood test and come back, and he looks at me and he's like, you were misdiagnosed. Your thyroid's fine. So thrilled, kind of set me on a new path. I knew my body could heal, and I was really excited. So I started researching, and I was going to have the healthiest family and do everything right with food and nutrition. I set my family up with chiropractor and natural path. And now I have an 8-year-old son who's been in hockey for a few years, and my husband and I are watching in the cold arena at a game. And my husband is yelling at my son because he's out there during his shift and he's barely skating. And I have taken him to doctors and naturopaths, and nobody's giving me any information or telling me I need to do anything different. And my husband's super frustrated. He looks honestly like he's barely moving and like he doesn't care. So finally, after this goes on for a little while, he's in the car and we're like, do you still like hockey? Like, this is something you still love? Oh, I love it. He's like, I was trying so hard out there. And we're like, oh, okay. So finally, someone mentioned to me biofeedback. And so for those of you that don't know, quantum biofeedback is based on the principles of quantum physics, which tells us that everything is a vibrating particle. Everything is energy. Like, this is energy. I'm energy. You're energy. The chairs that you're sitting on, everything is a vibrating particle. And that we carry around with us an electromagnetic field that actually our heart puts out, and it actually can influence our immune system, our emotions. And if you want to find out more, you can check out Heart Math Institute. They've been doing research on this for quite some time. And in fact, all of our electromagnetic fields are interacting right now in the space with one another and the space here. So we got my son hooked up to biofeedback, which then it's a non-invasive therapy that goes around the head and the wrists and the ankles. And it energetically scans the and it helps interpret and measure the electrical and energetic signals. So the practitioner looks at me and she's like, oh, he needs B vitamins. And so I'm like, okay, that's easy. He's already used to taking vitamins. And she's like, and he needs the maximum dose. So we go home and I get the B vitamins, and he starts taking them for, it's now, 3 weeks. And I kid you not, my son went from one of the slowest skaters out there being pulled off the ice every time they had a penalty kill to one of the fastest skaters out there being put on the ice for every penalty kill. And I had parents coming up to me, ask, what did you do? And he won most improved player that year. And so all because he was deficient in B vitamins, which the energy of his body was calling out for. So after a few years of taking myself and my kids and seeing the benefits that the biofeedback had, I said to the practitioner, I said, you're so busy, we can't get in. I said, you need another you. And she looked at me, she goes, do you want to be another me? And so I always knew I wanted to help in the health and wellness industry. So I was like, yes, I do. So I was able to turn my passion into something real and help others on their healing journey. And because in a world where we feel obsessed with quick fixes and give me a pill for every ill, energy medicine is here to remind us that healing is about expanding our understanding of what health and well-being actually is. And it's about recognizing our bodies are not machines to be fixed, but we are actually ecosystems to be rebalanced. And even most importantly, it's about empowerment. So we are no longer helpless passengers on our healing journey, but we start becoming active participants. And you don't actually have to believe in the energy medicine for it to work. You just have to be curious and open and willing to listen to your body in a new way. So the next time you're feeling depleted, stuck, or discouraged, ask yourself, what kind of energy am I holding on to, and what part is maybe playing out of tune? Because you're not just a body and a mind, but you are in a field of intelligence, rhythm, and light. And when you learn to work with your energy, you begin to heal your life. Thank you. So now, ladies and gentlemen, allow me to introduce to you someone who doesn't just talk about wellness, but she lives it. She's a nutrition coach, yes, but far beyond counting macros or pushing meal plans, she is someone who serves from the heart. Her passion lies in helping others reconnect with their bodies, release what no longer serves them, and truly thrive, body, mind, and soul. Her own journey to health didn't begin in a kitchen or a clinic. It began in a grade 2 classroom. Through her company, Genuine Health, she speaks, teaches, coaches, and demonstrates simple ways to upgrade your health. She is here today to simply serve by sharing her insights. Please welcome with an open heart, Jen.
Has anyone else's butt fallen asleep? Before I go, just take 2 seconds, stand up and shake it out. Just let it all go. Oh, that feels good. I needed that myself, so thank you. Okay. So, all right. So, I'm sitting at my desk in grade 2. The class is reading Mac and Muffy, and Phyllis Brubaker, with her long brown braided pigtails and Mennonite bonnet, is sitting behind me. She taps me on the shoulder. Jen, what page are we on? Page 12. The next thing I hear is, Jennifer, come to the front of the class. You could hear a pin drop. My teacher, Mrs. Gingrich, takes the roll of masking tape from the corner of her desk, tears off a strip, places it on my mouth. Now sit down and remain silent for the rest of the class. I choked back my tears and I swallowed my voice. That moment affected my life and my health for like decades, and likely the root place of where I learned to hold back, to hold on for safety's sake. Right? Standing here now, my brain still tries to hijack my heart. But to serve from my heart, I had to learn to release the fear that I found in that moment. And not just the fear, but the behaviors in conjunction with that moment that I had learned. To move forward, I needed to take a deep dive into how to release, how to let go, how to detox everything that was holding me back. Because on the flip side of holding on, holding back is what? It's letting go. It's flowing and growing with life. Which brings me to what I'm talking about today here, about releasing, cleansing, detoxing. Whatever you want to call it, it's about the toxicity that builds up inside us. And unless we deal with it, there will be consequences. The toxicity could be like my childhood, mental. It could be a spiritual disconnect, or it could be physical. There was a time in my life when the pain in my body dictated what I could and couldn't do. I could barely sleep, and my body was so inflamed. I suffered from anxiety, bloating, brain fog, and weight that I just could not for the life of me lose. I chalked it up to being a busy mom, right? Life. Pain became normal for me, but there was nothing normal about it. A simple detox changed everything. It calmed the inflammation in my body, and it gave me back my energy, my clarity, and my life. My journey to wellness led me to a truly holistic approach to nutrition and to life. One that just doesn't swap pharmaceuticals for supplements or herbs, but invites a truly deep reflection for lasting change. So what is a detox, a cleanse? Detoxing isn't just about having green juice or skipping that morning coffee, but it could be, it might be part of it. It's about supporting our natural detox or elimination systems, our liver, our kidneys, our skin, our lymph, and our lungs, so that they can neutralize and eliminate harmful substances such as environmental toxins, metabolic waste, and hormones, excess hormones. A truly holistic cleanse addresses body, mind, and soul. And so if you're looking to do a full detox, body, mind, and soul, you want to be asking yourself questions like, what am I holding on to that no longer serves me? It might be something as simple as a piece of clothing. It might be a relationship. It might be a job. Don't worry, Malcolm, there's never a scenario that this does not serve me. You might be asking, what's the goal of my cleanse? Is it for clarity of mind? Is it to balance my hormones? Or mental clarity? Or weight loss? And when's the right time for me to do a cleanse? I'll be heading down on Saturday to see my grandkids and do a 10K run. I've been training the last few months, so I tell you that is not a good time to detox, right? You should maybe be asking, if you're new, what's the right detox or cleanse for me? And how will it fit into my life? And if you're a seasoned cleanser or detoxer, those questions still apply. So there's 3 C's of cleansing for optimal health. And I just shared the first C, which is clarity. Getting clear on all the things you need to consider so that you can choose what's right for you. Clarity helps you align your detox with your personal needs, so it's intentional and not overwhelming. And knowing your goal will help determine how, what, and when you actually do your detox. So the second C of cleansing is to clear your detox pathways. So the first thing to do that is to stop consuming toxins, right? The sugars, the alcohols, the processed foods, of course. And then start helping support those elimination systems I was talking about. You know, we talked a lot about breath work. Start breath work to help clear the lungs. You can do some dry brushing for your skin. You can do saunas and exercise also for your lung and your skin. You can make sure that you're getting the proper hydration for your kidneys. And of course, you can use supplements or herbs to support your liver. And take binders such as bentonite clay or activated charcoal to ensure that your digestive pathway is clear. But most importantly is to ensure that every single day, minimum once, you are having a really good bowel movement. So clean eating is not just about eating, it's about also assisting your body in letting things go. The last C is about creating a supportive environment. So I want you to picture a fish tank. You know those ones that are in commercial buildings, those beautiful big tropical fish tanks, the ones that have the neon blue and contrasting neon yellow, and maybe even those dory style fish that are orange, black, and white. And this fish tank is in your house though. So it is a little bit hard to clean. And so over time, the water gets a little bit cloudy and then a lot cloudy. And now your fish get sick. You wouldn't just take an herb or a supplement, drop it in the water and hope that the fish got better, right? No, you would change the water in the tank, clean the tank. And our bodies are no different. When we're tired, bloated, overweight, all of those skin rashes, that kind of stuff, it's often because our internal filter system is overwhelmed. And just like the fish tank, a detox, a cleanse can reset and recharge us. The fun thing is that the real transformation actually comes after the cleanse, from the habits and the mindset that we develop by cleaning that water in our fish tank. Lasting results come from sustainable changes and a nurturing environment, AKA a community of people. So we're just past the spring cleaning season. Has anybody done any spring cleaning? A few? Yeah? How did it feel afterwards? Amazing. Yeah, for sure, for sure. So I have a confession to make. In a former life, I was a professional organizer. So the word clutter comes from the word clotter or clot, to heap, pile on, right? So just like a blood clot would impinge the flow of blood to your brain or to your heart, clutter, AKA things that we hold on to, block the flow of energy in our life. It blocks the flow of energy in us, through us, and around us. So if there's areas in your life that may not be flowing quite as we want it to be, then that's a warning light saying you need to pay attention to what is stagnating in that area. So whether you're experiencing anxiety, brain fog, skin rashes, or just want to lose weight, just know that you're not alone. There are a whole bunch of us that would love to help you on your journey. And before looking for that silver bullet or that silver herb or that silver supplement to manage your symptoms, maybe just start with a simple detox. It might change your life like it did mine. I will be organizing a group cleanse, so if you're curious, just let's connect. Detoxing, letting go, cleansing, releasing, it's not just about food. It's about freedom. So your reset is waiting and your clarity is calling you. Let's clean your fish tank together. Yes, yes it is. So I would like to now introduce our next speaker, Jacqueline Kelly Fraser. Jacqueline was free-birthed on a kitchen floor of a little blue farmhouse in the foothills, the last of 5 children, unto a mother who had made a quiet but radical decision that after 4 doctor-managed pregnancies and births, that this one was going to be on her own terms. And in the sacred act of surrender, amidst the echoes of cultural fear and inherited doubt, Jacqueline entered the world in a humble act of revolution. Unmedicalized, undisturbed, uncoerced, and imprinted from her first breath with a clearer memory of the blueprint of a sovereign design. That imprint became her compass. Jacqueline has devoted her life to the reclamation of the wild woman within, continuing to break the spell of generations that a woman's body is not to be trusted, as her mother first dared to. She created her business, Earth Sisters, and serves her Alberta community as what she calls a birth sister, a guide, a witness, a keeper of primal thresholds. She walks beside women who choose to birth in trust, live in truth, and mother from instinct. She will be speaking today about the sovereign design of life and what we need to protect in order to remember the sovereign design as our natural state. Please join me in welcoming the luminous voice of remembrance.
Every time I listen to that story of my mom, I always get so emotional. It wasn't really part of the plan to get emotional, but I do need to sit, so I'm gonna do that. Okay, hi everyone. I'm really excited and very grateful to be here today to speak to you all about, hi Dennis, to speak to you all about my thoughts on what living a free life is all about. I've become really passionate about this over the years based on my story, about what it's like to, inspiring humans into liberating themselves from captivity, and specifically women, as that's been my embodied experience in this lifetime. But first I wanted to get a read of the room. If I was to say humans should be free, who generally here, without like a lot of context, generally thinks that's true? Does anyone not think that's true? Not because that's a problem, but I'm like, I kind of want to talk to you after, if so. Just, not as like a lesson, but just as like, I'd be interested. Okay, when I was a kid on the playground, we used to do this thing when we were kind of being bratty. I don't know, I went to kindergarten with Sarah, so maybe you remember this, but we used to be like, I'm allowed to do that, it's a free country, or I'm allowed to say that, it's a free country. And did anyone else do that? Like, we live in a free country. I actually went to a playground. I was very, very honored and excited to be invited to play with the cool kids with my nieces. They're 6 and 8. And they are still playing Stella Ella Ola, tap, tap, tap on the playground, just in case you're curious. But I kind of got the sensation that they're not doing the whole boasting of the free country thing. And I think it's because, or I get the sensation, I don't know about you guys, but I get the sensation that kind of like a boiling frog, we've sort of accepted the disillusionment, or the breakdown of the fact that we really probably don't live in a free country. I'm a conspiracy theorist, so maybe that's just me, but yeah, somehow we've kind of made this okay because we have Netflix now. We have the opportunity to binge our social media and live really, really busy lives. So maybe you see things this way, maybe you don't, but I wanted to ask, what is everyone's idea here, or maybe we'll popcorn some answers of what is living a free life to you? What is freedom to you? What is someone who lives free do, or what do they have? Let's get some answers. Time freedom.
Time?
Yeah.
They have time.
Yeah.
Being able to do what you love.
Being able to do what you love, yeah.
Do what you want.
Do what you want. Eat what you want.
Eat what you want.
What you want, when you want, how you want.
It's a lot of, yeah. Have a clean environment. Okay, yeah, amen to all those. Clean environment, no bills. No bills, baby. What was yours, Alex?
All with the non-aggression principle.
With a non-aggression, yeah. Paying bills, not aggressive.
Within the non-aggression.
Right, okay. Malcolm, what did you say?
Just do what you want.
Do what you want, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Transparency in what you're consuming. Ooh. Okay. Yeah, like almost like informed consent. Yeah, that's interesting. Okay. Yeah.
Owning your thoughts.
What is it? Owning your own thoughts? Yeah, okay. Yeah, okay. Yeah, amen to all of those. Okay, I was going to get a thing. Okay, whatever. I wanted to clarify and show you the design of captivity. And I'm going to use animals to do this. Okay, what does a wild animal do when it's recently been captured and it's in its cage or it's in its tank? Has anyone seen Free Willy? What does like Willy do? Yeah, he literally circles. He paces. Occasionally he stops to hit his head against the wall at that little kid, but he like just circles. And I was in Africa a couple years ago, and there was this one baboon in particular, and he would do the same thing. Like every morning he would wake up, go over the same loop, and then walk around and then climb the same wall, knock his head. He would literally knock his wrist. He would just literally loop that over and over and over. And this is the design of captivity. It's the form of captivity. It's the consciousness of captivity. It's a circle, and here I was going to draw a circle. And I'm going to stick with myself here. Okay, so animals can still birth in captivity. We see this in the zoo. Animals still birth in the zoo. And if an animal's been in captivity for so long that it's become domesticated, its biology can even adapt a little to survive in its environment. But it's not evolving. It's replicating, it's imitating, but life is literally stuck repeating in a circle. And what is this design really good for? Well, let's look to our domesticated friends on farms. A domesticated animal is really good for siphoning controlled energy. And this isn't a moment to like hate on our farmers because I love the food that I consume and I'm so grateful to farmers, but the conversation is actually bigger. It goes back 1,000 or 10,000, 12,000 years ago to the agricultural revolution. And this is when we stopped eating wild. We stopped traveling with our food and moving around. This is when civilizations began, and we began to have crops and domesticate our animals to facilitate control. Before agriculture, humans responded to the land, and after we began to control it. And this was a point where wild sovereignty was traded for convenience, control, and safety. I have a personal goal to eat wild again one day, but I don't know how to hunt, so hopefully I manifest someone in my life who knows how to do that. Okay, and if the consciousness of a human can siphon and extract energy from the consciousness of a plant and an animal, then if we apply the Hermetic principle of as above, so below, or as within, so without, we can assume, or rightfully assume, that something could extract the energy of us. Unless we think we're like the highest consciousness in the universe, in the cosmos. In that case, we have nothing to worry about. But we can kind of assume that it's possible, if that's how we interact with our environment, that that's something that can interact with us. And okay, so if we're interested in living life that way, then let's just keep going how we're going. But I want to paint the picture of a design of a wild creature who is sovereign and free. What does a wild animal do? It listens. It listens with its skin. It listens with its breath. It listens with its gut. It doesn't ask. It responds. It rises with the sun, follows scent, watches shadow. It eats when it's hungry, moves when stirred, sleeps when safe, and it's in constant conversation with the land. Every step is a choice made by instinct, and it's not necessarily an easy life, but it's real. Every moment is felt and experienced. Now, that's not just survival. That is sacred intelligence in motion, and that's thriving. This is evolution, the spiral of becoming. So the form of sovereign wildness is not a circle, it's extracted, it's a spiral. And this is where I draw a spiral on my board, I forgot. The life folds inward to deepen and unrolls outward to expand. And that's the essence of evolution, and that is your essence. Evolution is the unrolling of what already lives inside you, a sacred unveiling, a return to design, and that's what people mean when they say humans were designed to thrive. So captivity, I'm pointing my circle here, this is really my thing. Captivity breeds imitation, and freedom births evolution. A caged animal can survive, but a wild animal can thrive. A domesticated being can adapt, but only wild, unbound beings can truly evolve because they are in constant dialogue with nature and the mystery of life. Now raise your hand if you're even more inspired to live a free life. Hi-yo. Okay, well, I'm here to tell you that if you want to do that, you absolutely need one thing. Does anybody have a guess of what you absolutely need if you want to be free? It's one word. I'm looking for one answer.
Open mind.
Open mind? Nope.
Free will?
Nope. Oh, maybe. But my answer was instinct. You absolutely require instinct if you have any interest in living a sovereign life and you don't have an interest in having your energy be siphoned. Okay, so what is instinct? Instinct is intuition in motion. Intuition literally means, in its Latin origin, to look, to watch, or to guard, which surprises a lot of people, I think, when they hear like the etymology of intuition, to look, to watch, or to guard. And it's immediate. It is response without cognitive thought. It doesn't ask for evidence-based research. It simply arises because it knows. And the response is there to protect us. That's Japper. My support team. Okay, my speech is honestly a lot of what other people had said in the beginning, which I thought was so interesting, but I do get controversial in life, so here I go. Okay, there's a lady on Instagram, and her name's Amy Sousa. Her Instagram name is Known Heretic. And I honestly just love what she's creating these days, so I really encourage you guys to go check her out. But her message is all about exposing the attack on instinct with trans ideology, of having to cognitively figure out if a man is a man or a woman is a woman. And it widens the gap, this cognitive space widens the gap between intuition and response. And that is where, for any wild animal, danger exists. It is part of our intellectual design to protect us to immediately decipher between a man and a woman. Anyways, you can go check her out, or sometimes I go on rants about this on my Instagram, but I pick up a lot of this. And as I'm sensing my environment, I pick up a lot on the attack on instinct. As I had said, I do identify as a conspiracy theorist, and it's because I do sense that our energy is being harvested as human beings. And that may sound dark, we don't need to stay there. But I think this is happening, has happened, maybe repeatedly in history, but is happening because of the direct attack on instinct. I think that's how it's even able to happen. I see this primarily in the birth world. If you can control the original portal of wildness, which is birth, if you can use fear to break a human consciousness into obedience, then you control the human race. And that's why I think we've been so convinced culturally that birth is so dangerous and so scary, and that it allows us to invite the management of it in and hand over our human wildness to be controlled. Freedom starts with birthing. Sister Morningstar is an elder in my community, in the birthing community that I'm a part of. And she says, the instinct injured woman is the educated woman. She's the person who is in her cognition, she's in her mind, she knows, she's sophisticated, she's civilized, she's here. And it's not to release that we, should just go back to not having language and being in our grunt mode, but that part is a part of us. And when we are primarily in here and we forget that this part is actually a huge part of our ability to thrive, then we're in a danger zone. Okay, a few other ways that the attack on instinct reveals itself. Body hair. And if you know me and you thought I was going to do a speech and I wasn't going to talk about my leg hair, you are sorely wrong. I'm very proud of it. Yeah. So I wanted to grow out my leg hair, my body hair, when I was 21, and I was in a relationship at the time, and that was a big no-no. Got in a really big fight about it. Still stay in the relationship, but I ended it. He ended it. Anyways, we're not going to get into my breakup, but long story short is about 2 years ago, I started having this desire again after we had broken up to like grow. And originally I just had the desire like just because I wanted to feel what that was like. I'd always been like a Gillette Fusion dream my entire life. And there's a backstory to that. I was going to get into it. And I'm like, I'm not going to go into the original sin that choked my hair. Like Jen with her teacher, I would probably cry. But anyways, so I started growing out my leg hair, and I was working downtown, and I'm wearing a skirt, and I was wild enough to grow out my leg hair, but not wild enough to quit my corporate job downtown. And so I was walking, and I get the sensation that there was like a spider crawling on my leg. So I like dust it off. I'm like, oh my gosh, it's a little scary. And walking around, I'm serving people their drinks and handing out people's alcoholic beverages and keeping everybody numb. And it was super out of integrity. Anyways, I'm walking really fast, and I feel the sensation again. And I'm like, oh my gosh, it must be like, you know, when a hair is stuck to your head, stuck to a piece on your body, and it must be like a hair stuck. So I'm like trying to like pinch off this hair. And then the sensation happens again. And I'm like, what the fuck is that sensation? And I realized it's literally air going through my hair. And I'm like, I had literally in 28 years or however, 27 years, never felt the sensation of what it was like to have hair around me, air around me through my hair. And I was like, I have been living my entire life without that sensation. And I think of all the ways that we numb ourselves and we cut off our source of being able to literally feel. And since then I've learned that every single hair on your body is it's an extension of your nervous system. It's part of the feedback loop system that allows you to sense your environment, to know, goosebumps. It connects you to your internal knowing that says, get online, this truth is here. And I think the grooming and the grooming and the numbing of a woman's body is a direct attack on instinct for humanity. And the last attack on instinct that I wanted to talk about was the attack on pain and pleasure. Pain and pleasure are part of our instinctual feedback loop system, interested in thriving. Pain and pleasure literally inform us about how best to thrive. So I'm going to use the hand on the stove example. When your hand is on the stove, your instinct goes, "Oh, your hand can't exist there, or else you won't have a hand." But what do we do in our modern society? We keep our hand on the stove and we numb it. So we take our ADHD meds and our antidepressants and our anti-anxieties and our dose up on alcohol and do all of these things to numb the experience that we're having of pain. We think the symptom is bad. We think the pain is bad. And so instead of responding with instinct to the pain, we quite literally keep it on the stove and say, no, don't look there. Our fear of pain, which is part of our ability to thrive, is one of the ways that we attack instinct, we numb. And then from the other pendulum, I have this sort of slogan in my business, surrender to pain and allow pleasure. There's so many attacks on the allowance of a woman actually experiencing pleasure. And I see this so much come up in birth when you ask a woman, well, what is your dream birth? And she's like, I just want a healthy baby. It's like, of course you just want a healthy baby. That is bare minimum. We all want a healthy baby, but we are afraid to dream. We're afraid to actually experience what would be pleasurable to us. And I think we've become so small as women to not experience true pleasure. And pleasure is there to serve us, just as pain is. So when you sit in the sun and you say, oh, this feels so good, it's because sun is good for you. Experiencing that pleasure is actually a feedback to your system that this is good for you, stay here. And pain, to respond to that pain. So the attack on these things are part of what I'm seeing is where there's a danger here. So if there's one thing I can leave you with tonight, it's to please help me think leg hair is sexy again. Really trying. I'm just kidding. But I really hope to have inspired your memory of our original design, which is to thrive. Wild, sovereign, and already whole with everything that you need. And may we as men and women remember that it is in our highest service to honor our instincts. May the women express this, and may the men protect it. Thank you. And thank you everyone who I know who, keep forgetting this is there. It's right over my heart. Who I know who came tonight. So much gratitude, and thank you for allowing me to speak. I get to introduce our last speaker of the evening. my friend Brittany, who is, we have so much soul. Thanks, Chopper. So much solace, and we have similar journeys and serve the world in similar ways of serving mothers, and I'm very excited to be able to have you hear her tonight. Okay, Brittany is here to take us on a journey of remembering how community is the foundation of well-being for all, especially for mothers, thanks, honey, who despite being the first homes and teachers for past, present, and future generations, often receive the least support and care. You'll hear about Brittany's journey to becoming a postpartum care practitioner, why this work and community support is absolutely necessary, how cultures around the world honor and support postpartum, and how to begin integrating simple ways to support your community. This talk is about inspiring a cultural shift where mothers are truly seen and honored as the center of community. As a postpartum care practitioner, Brittany supports mothers in the 4th trimester and beyond with in-home postpartum care and intentionally made nourishment. Brittany's mission with Blissful Womb Care is to inspire change in the ways we nourish, care for, and support women and mothers. She believes that in order to begin repairing the many fractures in this world, we first need to begin with the centering the needs and care of mothers from birth and throughout the lifelong postpartum journey. Please help me in welcoming Brittany Zier.
Wow. Thank you all so much for being here tonight. I'm really, really excited that you're all here because although I speak through the lens of supporting the early postpartum time, my real work is to educate community on why postpartum care is a necessity and how the 5 essentials of postpartum care are really just the essentials for healing and thriving life in general. Women have been supporting women since the beginning of time. We have this innate wisdom that has been passed down to us through generation to generation. It has been imprinted in us. Take 2. We have this innate wisdom that has been imprinted in us since the beginning of time. And I'm really excited that men are showing up in more supportive roles in birth and postpartum now. However, they don't have the same imprint that women have. And that's why I'm excited that the men are here tonight as well. Because I can't only be speaking to mothers, I also have to be speaking to everyone. Because in order for this cultural shift to begin, the community at large needs to be involved in the conversation. My intention is to be able to inspire you to see some simple and tangible ways that you can begin supporting the mothers in your community, whether they are 3 days to 30 plus years postpartum. Because I'm only one person and I need your help. My vision is weaving a world of intergenerational care and mother-centered care. So, will you weave with me? Yes. Yeah. If you would have asked me 6 years ago what kind of work I would be doing today, I don't think I could have ever envisioned being a postpartum care practitioner. I was teaching yoga 7 days a week, living in Toronto with daily migraines and fibromyalgia. I was on a slew of pharmaceuticals, antidepressants, and birth control. I had been completely disconnected from my body and from its innate wisdom. I was trying to survive each day. Things began to change for me in 2020. I, like the rest of the world, experienced isolation, a crumbling of reality as it was, I'm getting nervous looking at everyone's faces here. I've been like rehearsing this all day and no one's around, but now I see everyone. Anyways, so I experienced isolation, a crumbling of reality as it was, and a complete reconfiguration of my life and my career. I knew that I needed to do something that was always going to be needed in the world. And so after I lost my livelihood in my community, I began to inquire what that might be. Around the same time, I made the radical choice to come off of all pharmaceuticals and begin transitioning to a more holistic way of being. At the same time, I was divinely guided to a course called Journey into the Womb, which at the time didn't make any sense to me, but now I can see how that was the key to the trajectory for the next few years of my life. And it was in that course that I learned that the term woo-woo actually means womb and was a derogatory term coined by men to dismiss and devalue and disconnect us from anything seen as alternative, earth-based, ancestral wisdom, basically anything that can't be proven by science. It was here that I saw that the roots were severed. And so my journey of remembering, or coming back together, as one of my teachers, Rochelle, says, began. I was an experienced prenatal yoga teacher, and my sister was pregnant with her first baby. We were doing prenatal yoga together over Zoom, and I became fascinated with studying birth. I began a common birth and postpartum doula course, but I quickly became frustrated and felt unprepared to be able to support birth without having a teacher, a mentor, or a community to resource me and support me through supporting birth. My sister wound up having an unplanned cesarean, and nothing in my postpartum doula course prepared me or said anything about how to support someone following a C-section. And to me, that was wild. How is it that at least 1 in 3 births today are ending in a C-section, which is major abdominal surgery, and there's no follow-up care? We have this collective understanding that if someone has a shoulder surgery or they're recovering from any other kind of injury or illness, that there is this need for rest and for caretaking. But we send mothers home who have just given birth, whether physiologically or through the belly, with a tiny new human that is entirely dependent on them for their survival, with virtually no support. This didn't make any sense to me, and I saw a massive fracture. The doula course I was in felt way too surface level, and I knew that what I was being called into had immense depth to it. I knew I was meant to support women and mothers, but I just didn't know how. One night in 2021, I sat in front of my altar, crying and praying for a teacher and a community. The next day, an ad popped up on my Instagram for innate postpartum care training. When I went onto the Innate website, I saw these words: midwifing a cultural shift in honor of our innate wisdom, personal authority, and the sanctity of life. With a full body yes, I knew my prayers had been answered. Rochelle Saliga is the creator of Innate Postpartum Care Training. She created this course through her lived experience as a traditional midwife, a mother, and through studying cross-cultural postpartum care traditions from around the world. Weaving together science, physiology, psychology, and innate wisdom, this course completely changed my life. Innate system of care was developed with the understanding that in order for our children and families and communities to thrive, we need to center the care and the well-being of the mothers. When mothers are physically, emotionally, mentally, and spiritually supported, the ripple effect to the community at large is endless. It is here that I learned the 5 essentials of postpartum care, which are rest, warmth, body care, nourishment, and community support. And believe it or not, within 3 months of this 9-month-long training of integrating all that I was learning, even though I myself was not postpartum, I healed 7.5 years of chronic pain. And it was here that I realized that the 5 essentials for postpartum care are just the essentials for healing and thriving life in general. There are many ways in which cultures from around the world practice these 5 essentials, and they might call them something different. However, they are all rooted in the innate physiological design of women. In traditional Chinese medicine, Ayurveda, Latin American cultures, and other indigenous cultures from around the world, they traditionally have a postpartum resting period of 21 to 40 days, where mothers are kept warm by the fire with herbs, and they're fed nutrient-dense, easy-to-digest foods. They receive body care practices like herbal baths and massage and acupuncture and closing of the bones ceremony to honor and acknowledge that these women have completed the rite of passage and they are emerging out into their community as a new version of themselves. They are seen as a pillar in their community. These cultures often have multi-generational support to tend to the mothers, to tend to her home, and to tend to her family. This creates the space for her to rest so that she can heal from her pregnancy, birth, and postpartum journey, and so that she can tend to and bond and feed her baby with ease. Young girls witnessed their mothers and their aunties and their grandmothers tending to other women in their community in these ways. So this wisdom was imprinted into them from a young age and passed down from generation to generation. In Ayurveda, they say how a mother is supported in her first 42 days postpartum determines her well-being for the next 42 years of her life. They understand that this sacred time fortifies strength, vitality, and well-being for the mother and for future generations to come. Some of these traditions are still intact, where multi-generational households are still around and these traditions are honored. However, in our modern Western culture, this rarely exists. In fact, most people don't even know that this exists. We work multiple jobs, we live in isolation, we have been disconnected and separated away from our families and what a true community support looks and feels like. Women are fed bounce back culture ideologies. They are celebrated for being out and about with a new baby at 4 days postpartum. They're fed cold smoothies, and they are told to get back out there as quickly as possible. How quickly can you return to your life before you had a baby without going through that process? Postpartum is seen as synonymous with depression, but postpartum simply means time after birth. And this is not only following the birth of a baby, but also following pregnancy loss. So this means that postpartum is for life. You are forever changed. People spend copious amounts of money on cute little onesies and toys and baby gadgets for the babies because, let's face it, they're freaking adorable. But how often do we take pause to ask the mothers how they're really doing? One day I was checking a customer out here in the shop. She was holding a cute little baby and I acknowledged both of them. I asked her how old her baby was. 4 months, she said. And how are you doing? How has your postpartum journey been? I asked her. She immediately broke into tears. No one has ever asked me that before. It's actually been really hard. I know, I said to her. Everyone's concerned about how the baby is doing, but we rarely check in to see how the mothers are doing. I see you. I recently had a dream come true. Women in my community pooled their money together to contribute to a postpartum care fund for their friends so that she could receive my Nourish 4th Trimester care package, which is 6 weekly in-home postpartum care visits rooted in the 5 essentials of postpartum care. This woman hired me to come in and support her, and her story is like many others. Women who come to me are second-time and beyond moms because they have experienced what life is like to go through the postpartum journey without support and care. Their experience is night and day when they emerge out of the 4th trimester. They emerge calmer, more relaxed, able to bond with and feed their baby with more ease. They feel seen, loved, and cared for. This is why I do what I do. It's a real honor to be able to witness women in this most vulnerable and transformational time in a way that most women have never experienced. In our culture, oh wait, I said that one already. I guess I jumped around there. That's okay. The result of a lack of community support has led to all-time high rates of postpartum depression, anxiety, autoimmune disorders, hormonal imbalances, nutritional deficiencies, dysregulated nervous systems, and so much more. I could go on, but I think I'm already over time, so we'll save that for another talk. Are you beginning to see how mother-centered care is foundational to our collective well-being? If mothers feel cared for, supported, nurtured, and empowered, their children and their families feel this way too. This, again, is a ripple effect into the collective community at large. Community support is foundational to collective well-being. I used to believe that dismantling the systems and structures that have led to this depleted and extracted state that we find our mothers in today, and Mother Earth, and so on and so forth, I used to believe that dismantling that was the way forward, but I don't anymore. I now see the way forward is to build a bridge, drawing on the innate wisdom from these cross-cultural and our ancestors that has been stripped from us, merging it with our modern times and creating a new way forward where mothers are truly centered and honored as the center of community. I believe this is the way that we create a cultural shift. We create a new way forward rooted in reciprocity, repair, regeneration, and a return to unity. The etymology of the word community refers to a group of people who share a common duty, responsibility, and connection in life together. They share a mutual concern for one another's well-being. Break apart the word community. Do you see the word unity? Community simply translates to common unity. So, what are some simple and tangible ways that we can begin supporting our mothers, whether they are 3 days to 30 plus years postpartum? First, remember that the 5 essentials of postpartum care, rest, warmth, body care, nourishment, with the foundation of community support, are really the essentials for healing and thriving life in general. Bring mothers herbal infusions, homemade nourishment, and offer your presence to sit with them in their most vulnerable, real, and raw moments. Offer to pick up groceries on your way over, to do the dishes, and to sweep the floor without any judgment. Create a felt sense of safety for her and watch her transform before your eyes in the most subtle yet liberating ways so that she can step further into this sacred responsibility as her role as a mother. And if you're looking for more inspiration, this is exactly why I wrote the Blissful Postpartum e-cookbook. It's 30 of my most popular nutrient-dense recipes like superfood bone broths, soups, nutrient-dense snacks, herbal infusions, and so much more. This not only supports postpartum, but well-being for all. And I'm happy to say that the littles love the food too. When you don't know what else to do, bring food and offer your presence. This is true community support. May we co-create a world together where mothers and future generations are truly honored, centered, and cared for. May we watch the well-being of all living things begin to thrive once again. Thank you for being here.
All right, isn't that amazing? Yeah. Cool. Well, I hope you learned something. I hope you found something you can apply in your own life. And if you're inspired, come on back tomorrow night. We've got 6 more speakers on 6 different topics. And yeah, so
Including 2 guys.
including 2 men. That's right. Yeah, for sure. Cool. So take a look at the schedule that's online to see kind of what the topics are and who will be speaking. And yeah, I invite you also to connect with somebody that you heard speak tonight. Give them a little feedback. Give them some love. And let's give one more round of applause for everybody. So